Caroline Lucas warns Labour could form a one-term government if Starmer isn't bold. I'm going to read into this from Byline Times, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from Byline Times with the headline of Caroline Lucas warns Labour it could form a one-term government if Starmer isn't bold. The outgoing Green MP Caroline Lucas and the party's co-leader Carla Denyer suggests gains for the party this week in England will put pressure on Starmer to be more radical. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. The Green Party. This is a party that I'm very much, very likely to vote for at the local election, possibly by the time it comes round. And at the moment, my intention is to vote Green at the general election, simply because I'm in a Labour stronghold position. So my vote really won't make a difference in terms of the wider position of the general election, because where I live is in a Labour stronghold. So if voting Labour will not make a difference anyway. But we have a system that is considered, in my opinion, unfair. I really do think we should have a proportional representation where many parties people have more choice to pick from them. Yes, it does open up a reform party to as well, but I think, you know, if people want an alternative from the far right, then they should be entitled to that. Same with those who are like myself, maybe more centre left or far left, if you want to call us that. You can paint whatever perception you want of me personally, but I don't consider myself left, right, or whatever. I'm just a guy with an opinion. That's how I see myself. But I think, you know, there's a lot of the Greens have had a lot of influence when it comes to in terms of council seats and some assemblies as well, and they are continuing to gain those grounds, and I do expect them to gain some grounds at these local and mayoral elections. I don't expect them to win any of them, but I do think they are saying the right things. And I was listening to Caroline Lucas on Full Disclosure on LBC, and she was talking about her book and obviously talking a bit about her history, history as well as a politician, which I found fascinating as well. And I look back and I just think it's going to be such a shame that we're going to lose someone who really does speak a lot of truth to power about what's happening in politics and about what's happening with the climate as well. You know, she's been doing, as a Green MP, it's a real shame to lose her, but at the same time, she's leaving for more personal reasons rather than political ones, she stated. And going into what could be in these local elections and a general election, while many people are planning to vote Labour, they are not voting. There's a percentage of those people who are voting Labour not because they like Labour's policies or they believe in Labour or they trust Keir Starmer. They're doing it because they want the Conservatives gone. There is so much hatred. I don't like to use the word hatred, but there is so much hatred towards the Conservatives. We know that the clock is ticking. We know that they're going to go. We don't know when it's going to happen. It could be even as early as July, this general election. But we know it. We know it's going to happen. It's a matter of when, not if. The polls obviously indicate that the Conservatives may get wiped out. Now, I'm not right now. My position is I don't think that we are going to lose as many Conservatives as some people may think. Polls might change. There's going to be a lot of misinformation out there. Voter ID is obviously going to play a massive factor into the general election. Because we've never had a general election with voter ID, and this is going to be the first time we're going to have it as well. So that is going to play a part as well. So there may be this premise that, you know, this whole idea that there's going to be no Conservatives voting is just folly. There will be people out there who are going to vote Conservative, no matter what you say, no matter how much you convince them. There are going to be people out there that vote Conservative, which is why I generally believe that they may still be the opposition whenever that general election is going to be called. It could change. My position could change. My view could change. and everybody else is entitled to have changes and difference of opinions, but that's what I think will happen. But as for Labour, the pressure is going to be absolutely huge on them if they come to power at the general election. Keir Starmer, Rachel Reeves, and their cabinet are going to be feeling the pressure. And regardless, like, the absolute reality is that they are not going to get everything done within their first term. It's not going to happen. It is going to take time, but the problem is that people in this country are going to be impatient, and the media, which is why we desperately need media reform as well as proportional representation, the media are going to turn the heat really high up on Keir Starmer and Labour. You're going to hear it non-stop from the right-wing media, the likes of the Telegraph, the Express, and the Daily Mail, the Sun. They're going to ramp it up really, really high about the problems in the country, and they're going to say everything's all Labour's fault, and they're going to be regurgitating quite the same thing for a long time. We've had 14 years of Conservatives. We've had all these problems and that and whatnot. And as time's going to pass on, we're going to uncover more scandals and more money that has been lost under the Conservatives as well. We're going to find more skeletons in the closet. Believe you me, we will find more. So are Labour going to be enough? Are they going to be able to do enough in the first term? Which is exactly why I believe Caroline Lucas is saying Keir Starmer isn't bold enough. And at the moment, I agree with her. So the Green Party's only MP, Caroline Lucas, has told Byline Times she's confident several Green MPs will be elected in the next general election, saying that her party will put pressure on Keir Starmer's Labour to be bolder, braver and better. Speaking to this newspaper from Bristol ahead of Tuesday's local elections, where the Greens hope to gain a majority on the council for the first time, the outgoing Brighton Pavilion MP suggests that gains for the party will pressure Starmer to shift Labour's position to the left if it wins the next election. There'll be a huge amount to do, press a Labour government to be bolder and braver and better, because right now there is no sign they are ready to rise to the real challenges of this moment, Lucas says. This is a really, really critical time in terms of climate, in terms of nature, but also in terms of the broader democratic picture in this country. What is happening under Conservatives is so dangerous. So many basic rights have been undermined, if not downright removed, in some of the rights to strike, the rights to peaceful protest, the independence of the Electoral Commission, even the right to vote with the requirement now for photo ID, the former Green Party leader added. The Green Party's co-leader Carla Denyer, the parliamentary candidate for Bristol Central, hopes to oust Labour's factoring Debbonaire at the seat in the general election. This would be dramatically boosted by Greens taking control of the council, as the first administration since Labour's Mayor Marvin Rees' mayoral post was scrapped in a referendum. Greens currently have 24 councillors in Bristol to Labour's 23. We're aiming to have a new record number of councillors in Bristol, Denver told Byline Times. It's possible we will gain a majority, but it's a stretch target. I'm pretty optimistic that we're going to make some substantial gains in these local elections. The Green Council candidate Rob Buffer said that the party's prospects were the best I've seen in 14 years of campaigning. Speaking to this newspaper from a cafe in Bishopton Ward, the party's Bristol campaign leader Emma Edwards said the Greens would push for a workplace parking levy in Bristol. Should they gain control this week, the move would charge employers by the number of parking spaces they offer to go into a fund for boosting public transport. She noted its apparent success in Nottingham, where it raised significant funds for transport improvements. But her first main priority will be getting to grips with the new committee system, which she says will end the toxic partisan culture that had emerged between Labour and the Greens under the Mayor Marvin Rees. Byline Times joined Edwards on the doorstep as she pushed to secure commitments from locals. Several voters told her that they would back the Greens in the local elections, but opt for Labour in the general election. A split ticket situation that appears to be increasingly common. The party has also pledged to lobby for powers to introduce rent controls in Bristol, a power local councils don't currently have and which Labour appears to have rejected. Greens are also, like Labour, pushing to build more social housing. However, the party recently come under scrutiny over a number of local Green councillors opposing new housing developments as well as opposing new solar farms. Then to downplay such examples, saying, I'm aware that the that's the Labour Party's attack line. It seems to be the best they can come up with, even though I'm not very grounded in reality. There's been a handful of planning applications across the whole country where Greens have voted against the planning application, and usually when you actually look into it for very good reasons. The party said it's focused on building the right homes in the right places. They've added, when Greens were in administration in North Hertfordshire, they got the first council housing in a generation built. When Greens had the housing portfolio in York, they got some low-carbon housing development and high-proportion affordability. It was multi-award winning. And Lucas hit out at Keir Starmer for not being willing to repeal many Conservative changes. Looking at the U-turn on the Green investment pledges, they said that the two-child benefit cap is obscene. They also said they're not going to do anything about it. Now, theory is that by failing to live up to this critical moment, they will end up being a one-term government, and that the Tories that we might get coming back to at that point could be even worse and even more dangerous than the one we've had so far. Asked whether Starmer was merely toning down his radicalism publicly to secure a majority, Lucas said, "There are very few examples in history that I can think of prime ministers being more radical in office than they were when they were campaigning for an office. So I don't think it's terribly likely, and I think it's more serious that you need a mandate if you're going to do genuinely transformative things. You win that mandate by telling people that you plan what you plan to do to get elected. And so it's very dangerous to somehow think you could just pull out of your pocket and get all sorts of radical ideas. Even if he had that in mind, I'm fairly sure if he doesn't." On Starmer's U-turns, the Green MP added, "You do get to a point where people just feel this is someone you can't be trusted." And this is the thing. A lot of people do have that scepticism about Keir Starmer and Labour. Which is like, Greens are not perfect, but they have been quite clear about their policies, about who they are for a long time. However, she still appeared clear that a Labour government would be preferable to a Conservative one. After she was regretful to be leaving Parliament on the brick of Labour administration likely being elected, she said, "It would certainly be interesting to be a Green MP under a Labour government." Her advice to the next round of Green MPs, should Denver in Bristol and Sainsbury in Brighton be elected, was to have really good people around you. Denver won't be on her own. She said she's going to have some other Greens with her, and that will make the world of difference. Thursday could prove a limitless test for the party's changes at the general election. But it is more than that, of course. With nearly 800 councillors to reform UK's 9, the party is already often quietly plugging a row locally. Often that's holding Labour's feet to the fire. Very soon, Bristol and elsewhere, that role may be reversed. I think Labour should be concerned about the rise in Greens. I think all the parties should be concerned about the rise in Greens, because they are knocking on doors and they've been speaking to people for a long time. It's taken a long time for them to start gaining the voice that they have been gaining, and they are speaking a lot of good policies and saying the right things. The Lib Dems have lost that trust. You know that the trust is not there for the Lib Dems, given what they did in coalition with the Conservatives. That trust is very much damaged. So, some people remember their history, others don't, and I'm not for. So some people will look at that and not vote Lib Dems based on that. Labour, of course, have their history, and many people don't trust them, and I don't blame them for feeling that the way about them. Some of the policies that were just highlighted there, the two-child benefit cap right there as well. Like, why? Like, why are we still holding on to it? It just doesn't make no sense to me. So, and Reform are not really a proper political party, but I can understand people who generally think that because of what their policies are with immigration, why people will vote for them. But that's all they are. That's all they are. But we will have to wait and see how things come when the general election comes around. But my general consensus is that the Greens are saying the right things, and they will continue to say the right things, even if the mainstream media does not give them enough of a platform. I do believe they will be forced onto that platform eventually. if they continue to gain grounds in places up and down the country. And that's the way they will do it. It's taken a long time for them to gain the council seats that they have, but they need to keep pushing and keep doing it to gain influence within the country. Because at the moment the system we have is a really unfair one, but they have to just keep going. So it'll be interesting to see how they do after these local elections. But what do you guys think? What do you make of Caroline Lucas' comments on Labour? What do you guys make of Keir Starmer's position so far? Do you think that it could be a one-term government for Labour if they do come to power? Do you think the Greens could have more influence, potentially up to 3 MPs at the general election? What do you guys make of their plan in Bristol? Because they have very good numbers at the moment. Do you think they could gain a seat there? Let me know your thoughts and more in the comments section down below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video, and subscribe because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content there as well. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.